All right, well, I also want to talk about just a little bit this other book I started reading. It's called The Primal Diet, or We Want to Live, by Agenus Vonderplanitz.
All right.
Yeah. And, I'd never heard about this guy until, I came across Spharia, or Gatus. I mean, this guy's definitely not promoted. I can say that. I'd never even heard of him,
Yeah.
before that. But, yeah, he wrote this book. The first part of the book is like his life story, kind of. He had a very tragic life, like all kinds of health problems, ailments in his youth, and the story is also about his son that he had. His son got in like a car accident, and after he became like a nutritionist, he basically tried to help his son, back to health, based on his new, nutritional expertise.
Yeah.
So there's a few interesting parts in here. So here's what he said about the germ theory. I thought this was interesting. He said, whether from illness or injury, medical science believes that virus and germs like bacteria cause disease. That is their germ theory. They believe that germs are enemies of healing. The standard approach is to attack virus and germs, bacteria, and other microbes with medical drugs and poisons to stop them. These drugs simultaneously attack, destroy, and deteriorate the body. Drugs are like bombs. They most often kill, cripple, harm, or destroy everything within their influence. They cause subtle or obvious mutations. The least harm that they do is create imbalances. Medical science ignores that bacteria inspires healing and that drugs kill bacteria, and therefore that drugs prevent healing. My approach is that bacteria, yeast, mold, and virus are all part of a natural process for detoxification. Bacteria, yeast, mold, and virus decompose body obstructions, such as dead or weak cells and tissue. When the body has too many obstructions, it has disease. The body encourages the detoxification process so it can cleanse itself of accumulated waste that cause weaknesses or damaged tissue in cases of injury. They also dissolve and eliminate foreign substances like rust from taking iron supplements. That is, if the body is fed the proper nutrients during and after the detoxification processes. For example, colds and flu are like changing the oil and flushing a car's radiator. If the body is allowed to take its course with colds and flus several times a year or whenever necessary, an increase in health is the natural result. That is, if at the same time one feeds his or her body good nutrients. For instance, oranges and or bananas blended with raw eggs, raw dairy fats, and unheated honey, a smoothie. However, if these cleansing and renewing processes are interfered with or stopped by using medication, the body advances faster toward deterioration, aging, and disease. That was pretty interesting. So it seems like he completely rejects the germ theory of disease. Now, here's another part where someone asked him about raw meat. They questioned him. They're like, what about worms and salmonella? He said, intestinal worms do not thrive in healthy cells. When an intestine becomes excessively toxic and massive tissue degenerates, worms can thrive. Parasites actually help eliminate dead, weak, and dangerous degenerative cells. They consume these damaged cells and break them down into substances that the body can most easily eliminate. Or the body can produce virus to dissolve the toxic degenerative tissue, or it can produce a bacterial infection to consume organic degenerative tissue. But those processes usually take more time and are more exhausting. parasites are always the best and quickest way the body can do to cleanse. Now, that's totally against what we're told about parasites, right?
Yeah.
I've never thought about that before. Parasites are the quickest way to that the body organically cleanses itself. The body's natural detoxification method is through parasites.
Mm-hmm.
Most parasites are symbiotic. You never hear about this, right?
Yeah, that's not at all what I've heard. I've done parasite cleansing.
No, I know.
So I
They
bought
always
the
tell you
brainwashing
that
before I heard this.
parasites are bad. You got to get all the parasites out, like ASAP. Yeah. That's not what he's saying here. And he says, now regarding salmonella and similar bacteria, normally foods that naturally contain these bacteria produce a putrid odor when the bacterial count gets high. If you worry about bacteria when meat stinks, don't eat it. The bacterial count in cooked meat and eggs will grow as much as 60 times higher than in raw food. The waste products from bacteria that feeds on cooked food is 10 to 100 times more toxic than the waste products from bacteria feeding on raw food. That's why in our advanced society, bacterial food poisoning is from cooked, packaged, or restaurant food. Wow. Totally against what we're told.
Yeah. I was eating some raw, chopped up beef, 100% grass-fed, which I know is still not perfect, but at the beginning of this call.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was kind of bland, though. I think it wasn't. I don't know. I've had red meat before, raw, and it tasted slightly sour. And I think it's because of the vitamin C that's in it. I don't know.
Yeah, I eat raw ribeye mainly. I mean, I like the flavor. I mean, it is kind of bland, though. Yeah.
Maybe it's just beef because the one that had flavor was goat or sheep.
I haven't had raw goat or sheep yet. You like that, though, you said?
Well, I did the first 2 times, and I don't know. You got to get a really fresh piece. And Anyway, I have had wild salmon and wild tuna. Well, the tuna was previously frozen, but those had a little bit more flavor and sourness. It tasted like I don't know, vitamin A or vitamin C, and they're both full of like natural fat or oil. It's very oily meat.
Yeah.
So it's high in fat. It's good.
Okay, so here he's talking about a patient that he was helping. He says, when I didn't know as much as I do now, I was not always successful with my nutritional advice. Failing Lanny was a disappointment to me. In his late 30s, Lanny became severely schizophrenic and depressed. He had been to doctors, and they told him that cures were rare and that a lifetime of medication was his only solution. Several years later, doctors convinced him that thyroid removal might help. It did briefly. Then he was labeled incurable and forever dependent on thyroid hormones and antidepressants. I failed Lanny before doctors convinced him to let them remove his thyroid. I was still a diehard fruitarian and vegetarian. I had encouraged him to fast and follow a raw fruitarian and vegetarian diet. His digestion improved. He felt better, but he was prone to low blood sugar, hypoglycemia. I didn't realize then I was this ignorant that a fruitarian or vegetarian diet is often rapid debilitation for people with hypoglycemia. Fasting or starving the body is rapid debilitation for almost everybody. nor did I recognize at the time that hypoglycemia and protein deficiency are the main cause of depression. So that was interesting right there. So, yeah, Augenus as well. He used to be, vegan, fruitarian, fasting a lot. He seems to be against that now. He would advise against it.
Yeah, I am too now.
Mhm. At least prolonged, sustained.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to do that, you better be very healthy already.
Well, yeah, if you're going to fast.
Not do it very often.
No. It even says back here in the back under fasting, he's got like a, sort of like a, I guess like a glossary of terms in the back.
Yeah.
He's got fasting here. So what he says about fasting, he says fast, that is not eating or drinking food, starve healthy cells as well as weak cells. After 5 hours of not eating or drinking food, cells become cannibalistic and eat each other, causing extreme systemic toxicity. I do not recommend fasting for anyone. Gradually detoxifying the body through good nutrition is a more loving way to care for our bodies. That's what he says on fasting, man. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, he's probably on the right track, but
dude, and I mean, this guy, he eats a lot. Like he eats like all throughout the day. It's crazy. Like I guess he thinks that's good. I don't know. I mean, I'd have to. He talks about how much butter, just raw butter, he eats in a day. It's like a crazy amount.
But he's not a big fat guy. He looks good for his age.
Dude, Augenus looks great.
In the videos I've seen him. I know he's passed away now.
Oh, yeah, he looked great, man. He looked like an Aryan Ubermensch. He did, like Gatus.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. He says under fruitarianism here, he says, fruitarianism is following a diet that consists of eating only fruit. A fruitarian diet cleanses the body but does not build and strengthen it. Bones, teeth, nerves, and tissue in general deteriorate when fed mainly fruit. Most people on mainly fruitarian diets lack focus and clarity and are excessively emotional. That's what he has for that. So
juice fast.
Yeah. It's funny. I just listened to a call today with Drake, one of his old Genesis roundtables that he does every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I might splice out the audio and upload it, but he did a little portion on veganism. He had his best friend on, named Joshua. He was a vegan. I think a vegetarian he was raised Seventh-day Adventist, so he was like brainwashed into this, you know. And he was a vegetarian for a really long time, like years, and then he became a vegan for I think just like 6 months, but this was after years of being a vegetarian. And in the 6 months of being a vegan, like his health totally deteriorated. And he talked about it, basically he never even fully recovered from the deterioration that happened.
Shit.
Uh-huh. And he also talked about, both Drake and him talked about prolonged fasts, and they advised against it. His friend actually said he had kidney failure from a prolonged fast. And then Drake was talking about he just got off a 22-day fast on this call.
Oh, wow.
Because he was having some major heart problems. So he pretty much just got desperate, you know. and he went to get a blood test from his doctor, and his doctor called him back with the results, and they're like, dude, you're like, you could die at any time. So they're like, he was totally minerally deficient, like in everything. They're basically saying like your organs can fail, like your organs will stop functioning, you know.
Yeah, you know, I don't quite trust the normal doctors on this. I mean, I'm not saying it's
No, that's not what the
wrong,
doctors
that
were
could be
saying.
dangerous.
That's what Drake and his friend were saying.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, Gatus.
I think there's a middle ground here.
Gatus experienced the same thing.
Yeah,
you know,
Gatus went, what, 2 months?
2 months, yeah.
Or 1 month with no food at all? Almost?
I'm pretty sure it was 2 months.
Nobody can go that long, dude. You'd have to be obese where you have just mountains and piles of stuff to burn off.
I'm pretty sure it was long. Well, it was longer than a month, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, it could be up to maybe 40 days, maybe 50 sometimes, but 60, that's pushing it. I'm not sure if that's possible.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think there's a middle ground after reading Herbert Shelton's book on fasting.
No, I agree. I'm not against fasting, but I mean, I would be against any kind of extremes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't think everyone can even do a 30-day fast.
Oh no.
I think you have to be in tip-top shape to go do a Gandhi or a Jesus 40-day fast.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I don't think there's a high percentage of the current population that's in that shape, even if they look athletic. You know.
Mhm.
You got to have mineral reserves of the right, good food.
Yeah.
Which is hard to get. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I would emphasize nutrition over fasting. Kind of like Ogenus here.
Yeah,
I
people don't have
better.
the self-control. You ever go on a fast of more than a day or even a day if it's your first time, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I can eat again, and you pig out and you sabotage yourself? You ruin the benefits you got? It can be deadly if you go several weeks and then do that. Like I've read in Herbert Shelton's book, he knew or he had heard of people who, they went, I think it was 3 weeks, and then they pigged out on hamburgers and
and then they died.
Milkshakes the first night. Yeah, and they died that night.
Yep.
And you've got to avoid other things like extremes of temperature, hot and cold showers. You're supposed to take like a lukewarm shower if you bathe while you're fasting, and no salt baths. Like one guy did a salt bath, like an Epsom salt bath, and it killed him. He was like 2 or 3 weeks in.
He detoxed too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like he didn't have the minerals to balance it inside himself. So with the he's absorbing some of that. And I think that's part of what killed him.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I would just emphasize, like I'd say I emphasize nutrition now, just based on what we know now about fat and stuff. I mean, people just aren't even eating. They're not even eating right at all already.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, why tell them to fast when they're not even eating right to begin with? Like, get them to eat right first. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're gonna have to do that when they rebuild after the fast anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Gosh, and you know what? Hearing these guys, I'm not sure if Herbert Shelton is completely correct on the advice he gives for the diet after the fast, because he says to start out slow with slightly acidic fruit juices and then a lot of lean protein after you get back to solid foods. Both of which
I've heard that
that
one chick that Gatus always has in his videos, what the hell's her name? Natasha or something, the doctor.
Oh yeah, the Russian lady.
Yeah, she recommends raw meat to break a fast.
Huh.
She said that it's actually really good because the enzymes and stuff, it gets your digestion going again.
Yeah,
really
see, that's
good for
why
that.
Herbert Shelton recommends starting off with the acidic fruit juices, because the acidity is supposed to build up the stomach acids again for digestion. But now I'm thinking that lady might be more on the right track.
I mean, that's what I mean. You never hear about breaking a fast, dude, with raw meat ever. You know what I mean? I've never heard that before her, ever. You know? Hello? You're still there?
Yeah, I get it. Now, it makes sense
Okay.
because at least for animals.
Plus all the amino acids that it has in it, and the vitamins, and I mean that's what'll build you back up fast.
Yeah.
After that'll build all your
direct
tissues back up.
Animal tissues to build up your animal tissues.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so here's another part where some hospital personnel confront him because he brought raw meat in to give to his son. How they ended up confronting him about it. They said, I understand you have brought raw meat and eggs into this hospital, he says confrontationally. Is there a problem? Raw meat and eggs carry disease. They don't belong anywhere in this hospital except the kitchen. In fact, for sanitation, no meat or eggs come into this hospital raw. Everything but fresh fruit is processed, he says with pride and authority. Hospital food is the most processed and denatured. Is that anything to be proud of? Does it have any life to give sick people? I want you to remove all raw food from the hospital. He waits glaringly for my acceptance. May I say something about the disease theory? Those bacteria show up in lab tests. All of us have the syphilis germ within us, like meat has bacteria. However, active bacteria are distressing only when they feed on toxic substances like in cooked, processed, and chemically grown food. The bacterial count in cooked meat and eggs will grow 60 times higher than in raw meat and eggs before it produces a putrid odor. The waste produced by bacteria feeding on cooked food is extremely toxic. That's why bacterial food poisoning in this country is from cooked, packaged, or restaurant food. I could not find one laboratory test that proved bacteria living on raw meat caused food poisoning in animals who ate it. The doctor says, are you going to remove what I asked? He says, would you stop doing something for your son that has been helpful and working because I asked you to, I asked. Not likely. Then may I have a little latitude, please? Decades of research documents and photographs held by the Price Pottinger Foundation in La Mesa, California, prove that raw meat, raw dairy, and raw foods in general create excellent health, free of disease. That's the Price Pottinger Foundation, in case you want to research the raw issue before you make that decision. So, yeah. Quite interesting.
Mm-hmm. How many chapters does that book have?
Well, the story part doesn't really have chapters. It's just the story part, and then the health facts in the back. Let me see.
No, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
No, I'm looking here. The story part looks like goes to page 126. And then all the rest of the book is the health facts. That goes to let's see, 339. So most of the book is health, just health facts.
All right, man.
He's really big on raw butter, though, man. I mean, he eats like a ton of it, dude. It's crazy. He's really big on raw, unheated honey as well.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that one.
It says right here, I think of the many internal and external wounds I've seen heal rapidly with application and large consumption of unheated honeys, and how miraculously unheated honeys stimulate digestion. Okay, honeys labeled unheated can't be heated over beehive temperature on a hot day. That is 92.8 degrees Fahrenheit. On hot days, bees fan the honey with their wings to keep the honey temperature below 92.8 degrees Fahrenheit. In the body, 80 to 90% of unheated honey turns into enzymes for digestion, assimilation, and utilization, whereas honeys that are labeled raw or uncooked can be heated to 160 degrees, which they do to thin the honey for quicker filtering and bottling for more profits. Raw or uncooked honeys mainly turn into radical blood sugar. Unheated is the key word with honey. You can eat as much unheated honey as you want as long as you have a taste for it.
Man.
Dude, he's like huge on unheated honey. I mean, I was thinking that that's still sugar, but I don't know, man. I guess he's big on that.
It's got enzymes and B vitamins in it, I think.
Yeah, He eats 8 to 16 tablespoons of raw butter a day.
Man, I don't know if I could stomach that much.
He says, like unheated honey, although the labeling requirements are different, raw butter hasn't been heated above a cow's normal body temperature. Raw fat, like raw butter, cleanses, lubricates, protects, and fuels the body easily. Whereas heated and pasteurized fat often store as cellulite or other hard-to-use or non-utilizable waxy fat. Yeah, did you know that fat actually detoxes? It helps you detox?
Yep.
Well,
I heard that somewhere.
Yeah.
I heard that from Ajanis. He said for really toxic people, they should get like 20 pounds overweight on raw sources of fat.
Mhm.
And it'll help them.
Mhm.
Because it traps whatever toxins and then it eliminates them or whatever.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, man, this book is good. I recommend it. You should get it.
Maybe I won't have to.
Good.
That's why we're doing this, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'll keep reading out of it. All right. That's all I
let
got.
you go.
Okay. Thanks, man, for joining me.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Yep, you too. All right, bye.